One of the stranger details of Michael Steele's strange tenure as chairman of the Republican Party is that no one else works there now. He fired almost all the staff of the Republican National Committee after taking over in January, but then he did not replace them. Today we learned that one person who had been kept on, the top internet guy at the RNC, a man named Cyrus Crone, he has resigned. Politico's Ben Smith notes that Mr. Crone did join a Facebook campaign aimed at keeping himself in his job, but then he quit. Michael Steele has promised off the hook and beyond the cutting edge ideas, but losing the guy who out-innovated the Democrats on grassroots web operations in the last campaign is probably on the hook and somewhat behind the cutting edge. The RNC still has no political director, no communications director, no finance director, and no chief of staff. They do, however, have a chairman who knows how to find his way to a microphone. Today, he guest-hosted William Bennett's radio show, where he indirectly responded to the call for his resignation heard from our guest last night, RNC member Ada Fisher. Is Mr. Steele going to resign?
Oh, trust me, not me, baby. Not happening. No way, no how.
Is it just me, or is Michael Steele undoing all the good that Telly Savalas and Barry White did for the word baby in the 1970s? You know, when he was elected head of the RNC?
Get ready, baby. It's time to turn it on.
Will he punish moderate conservatives, moderate Republicans for voting for the stimulus?
Oh, yeah, I'm always open to everything, baby. Absolutely.
And, of course, this gem from the Republican National Convention.
Let me make it very clear. Drill, baby, drill, and drill now.
Think about that. We got drill, baby, drill because Michael Steele likes to say baby a lot. I never put that together before today. Anyway, WBAL in Baltimore, baby, has reported on thousands of dollars Mr. Steele allegedly paid to a commodities trading firm during his failed 2006 run for the Senate. It was more than $60,000, labeled as political consulting fees, paid to a commodities trading firm that had forfeited its license to operate in the state of Maryland. It's a business that trades things like minerals and metal ores. Their website lists, for example, ammonia, urea, phosphates, slags, and sludges, and no mention of political consulting. Joining us now to try to make some sense of this is Jane Miller, chief investigative reporter for WBAL. She has taken the lead on this consulting fees story. Ms. Miller, thank you very much for joining us. Good evening.
Good evening, Rachel. How are you?
Great, thanks. This all happened during Michael Steele's 2006 campaign for Senate. He appears to have paid a commodities trading firm for political consulting. Have you been able to figure out if this firm actually does political consulting in addition to, you know, trading sludges and urea and stuff?
Well, what we know about this firm is what is listed on its website and also what's in its papers of organization when it organized in the state of Maryland. And no, we cannot find any public description of it that it does anything like political consulting or a variety of other political activities that other Republican accounts paid it in the waning months of the 2006 campaign. So that's been one of our questions. We have asked both the owner of Allied Berton, we have asked Michael Steele that question, and we've asked former Governor Bob Ehrlich's campaign as well. He was the other side of the Republican campaign in Maryland in 2006. Very contested campaign with a sitting governor, Bob Ehrlich, the Republican, and Michael Steele, who was the lieutenant governor in Maryland, who was trying to claim the open U.S. Senate seat in Maryland. So it was a very contested, heavily financed campaign in the state in that year.
And both of those candidates paid political funds of some kind, paid for some sort of political service from this mysterious company. Jane, I know that you were sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the total amount that came out of 4 Republican accounts, including Steele's Senate account, to this firm, Allied Berton, was $417,000 in a 3-month period. When the questions we ask of all of them, what was the payment really for? You know, the whole idea of campaign finance reporting is to be transparent so that the public can see who's giving money to a candidate and where a candidate is spending money. And so the question becomes, well, if this is political consulting, why is it going to a firm that calls itself a commodities trader? We know that the man behind the Allied Berton firm is a close supporter of Michael Steele, who also, during the Ehrlich administration, the Ehrlich gubernatorial administration in Maryland in 2004 was given the so-called business status needed at that time to do business at our airport, the Baltimore-Washington International Airport. So he does have other businesses.
I know that, Jane, you were given some video from a Democratic operative that I think we can air and show right now. What is this video, and how does it relate to these sort of this mysterious money during that 06 election?
Well, the question that we asked was, okay, so what was this money used for? And a former campaign official with the Bob Ehrlich campaign, in response really to our question, said that, quote, it may well have been used to fund the busing of people from Philadelphia, African-American men, to Maryland from Philadelphia on Election Day 2006 to do poll working for the Ehrlich campaign and the Steele campaign. This was a very controversial tactic and got quite a bit of press both on Election Day in 2006 in Maryland and there in about a week later with some press. The Democratic Party stood up and was very denounced this as a dirty trick. There were about 6 or 7 busloads of African-American men that came to both Baltimore City and Prince George's County, which are the 2 jurisdictions in Maryland that have the larger African-American population. They came here to work the polls in African-American precincts. Many of the Democratic leaders denounced this tactic as being deceptive. It's trying to trick voters into thinking that there was that these folks were black supporters of the Ehrlich and Steele campaign from Maryland, when indeed they had come from Philadelphia. No one has ever said, yes, we did that. Yes, we paid to have this done. When we did this story last week and started asking these questions, when the former Ehrlich campaign official said to us, this may well have been what this money was used for, it's the closest anyone has ever come to saying, yep, we did that.
I remember from the reporting at that time in the Washington Post and in other sources saying that part of the controversy about busing those people from Philadelphia to to Maryland was that what they were handing out were inaccurate sample ballots that described Governor Ehrlich and Michael Steele as Democrats. The Post said that the flyers included fake endorsements from well-liked African-American Democrats like Kwesi Mfume. Do we know that those, I mean, if that happened, that's more... That's a bigger deal than just doing something of moving people across state lines to impersonate supporters. That seems like something that Michael Steele should maybe want to answer for. That was very much part of the controversy at the time. There was a lot of attention paid to this, both on Election Day, as you can imagine. It was quite controversial in both Prince George's County and Baltimore City on Election Day. To have these buses arriving. These guys got off the bus. They said they were from Philadelphia, that they were working for the Steele campaign, they were working for the Ehrlich campaign, and then, you are correct, passing out this literature, which we have seen, that says that Ehrlich and Steele were supported by certain Democratic leaders in the state of Maryland who happen to also be African American. Those leaders very much denounced this tactic as very deceptive because they were not supporting those 2 candidates. Jane Miller, Chief Investigative Reporter for WBAL in Baltimore. Thank you for your reporting on this, and thanks for taking time out of your Friday to join us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel.
I should say that Michael Steele has not only rebuffed our repeated requests that he join us for an interview on this show, we now can't even get his office to answer our calls and emails requesting comment or confirmation on things that we are going to discuss on the show. That may have something to do with the fact that apparently nobody works at the RNC anymore. But regardless, I want to say here for the record, Mr. Steele, we have been covering you a lot lately. My personal guess is that you may be on the road to being forced out as party chairman. If you want to come on the show to defend your record, to explain these financial questions, to explain what happened in 2006, to rebut or argue with me about anything that we've talked about on this show, I welcome the opportunity for you to do that. I promise you will get a fair opportunity if you choose to join us.